heavy wins. That's what made me what I am today.
Before he became the muscles from Brussels, Jean-Claude Van Damme was Jean-Claude Camille Francois van Varenberg, a frail, shy child, mocked for his glasses and thin frame in a quiet suburb near Brussels. His father was an accountant, his mother a florist, and the boy they raised dreamed of saving the world, protecting nature, and someday becoming a movie star. But schoolyard ridicule cut deep. To fight back, he turned pain into purpose, training relentlessly in Shotokan karate under Master Claude Dux until discipline became his armor. Ballet followed, 5 punishing years that taught balance, endurance, and grace. Then came bodybuilding, transforming weakness into strength. By 18, he was a national karate champion and Mr. Belgium. But his greatest victory was belief, the conviction that he could rewrite his story. Alone in a church one night, he whispered 3 wishes to God, unaware that the prayer of that lonely boy would one day echo across Hollywood. A dream carried across the ocean. In 1982, at 22, Jean-Claude boarded a plane to America with only $3,000, a thick accent, and the impossible dream of stardom. The glamour he'd imagined dissolved into nights sleeping in a beat-up car, stealing apples just to quiet his hunger. Days were spent pounding studio doors, enduring more than 100 rejections that mocked both his English and his ambition. Yet every dawn he rose to stretch, to train, to split, forcing his body to remember the faith his spirit nearly forgot. He delivered pizzas, installed floors, drove limousines, even bounced at Chuck Norris's bar, smiling through exhaustion. Each no became a rep in the gym of his soul. In those lonely Los Angeles streets, he learned the language of persistence, sweat, humility, and unshakable belief. That belief kept him alive long enough for Hollywood to finally glance his way, proving that dreams born in darkness can still find their light. Bloodsport, the birth of a legend. After years of obscurity, destiny struck in 1988 with Bloodsport. The low-budget martial arts film was meant to vanish quietly, yet it exploded into a global sensation. As Frank Dux, Van Damme's speed, elegance, and raw sincerity electrified audiences who'd never seen violence look so graceful. For the world, he was a new kind of hero, both dancer and warrior, sculpted yet vulnerable. For Jean-Claude himself, the premiere was the end of hunger and the beginning of history. When Bloodsport came out, I cried, he admitted later. The little boy in Belgium was finally seen. The immigrant once ridiculed for his accent now spoke the universal language of motion. Overnight, the janitor of odd jobs became the symbol of determination. But success, like a sudden punch, comes with impact. The applause was deafening, but behind it waited the loneliness of someone who'd fought so long to be noticed. He forgot how to rest. The rise of the muscles from Brussels. From 1989 to 1995, Jean-Claude became an unstoppable cinematic force. Kickboxer, Lionheart, Death Warrant, Double Impact, Universal Soldier, and Time Cop turned him into a cultural phenomenon. His splits defied physics. His kicks carried the rhythm of ballet. His charm melted borders. He wasn't just acting. He was moving poetry, a self-made myth bridging East Asian fight cinema and Western charisma. Time Cop pushed past $100 million, crowning him king of 90s martial arts films, while the Mortal Kombat character Johnny Cage immortalized his swagger. Yet as box office numbers soared, exhaustion followed. Studio demands piled up, and the boy who once prayed for fame now worked through nights, flights, and injuries. Stardom had answered his prayer and begun to consume him. Behind the explosive choreography was a man bleeding quietly, trapped between duty to fans and longing for peace. Every film made him richer, but each premiere left him a little more hollow inside. Love won, love lost. Jean-Claude's personal life mirrored his films, passionate, fast, and often ending in heartbreak. His first wife, Maria Rodriguez, offered calm in Belgium before he left for Hollywood. Distance destroyed what tenderness built. Cynthia Derderian, his second wife, promised new beginnings, but fame's hunger devoured that too. Then came fitness champion Gladys Portuguese, his anchor, his mirror and strength. With her, he had 2 children, Christopher and Bianca, a picture-perfect family born at the height of his fame. But constant filming, temptation, and emotional exhaustion cracked their foundation. Rumors of infidelity followed. Love drowned in headlines. By 1992, the marriage collapsed, leaving him surrounded by trophies, but deprived of laughter at home. "I was working too much. I couldn't see my family," he confessed years later. Each failed union carved another scar, teaching him that every dream he chased demanded payment in intimacy and trust. Success was sweet, but it tasted of solitude. Darcy Lapierre and the Breaking Point. In 1994, still haunted by loss, Jean-Claude married Darcy Lapierre, a former Miss Hawaii, whose warmth seemed to offer redemption. They wed beneath Bangkok skies during the filming of Street Fighter, and their son Nicholas was born soon after. For a moment, life looked healed. A new wife, a newborn, and a career still burning bright, but Hollywood's temptations whispered louder. Rumors linked him to singer Kylie Minogue and model Isabel Fortea. Darcy's world shattered. Tabloids erupted. Accusations of betrayal and volatility spilled into courtrooms. By 1997, their marriage lay in ruins, leaving Jean-Claude stripped of custody and peace. "Not seeing my son, it broke me," he later admitted. For a man who could split his body in 2, the separation split his soul. The loss of Nicholas wasn't just another divorce. It was the collapse of his last illusion that fame could coexist with family. Love had become the opponent he could never defeat, falling into the abyss. The heartbreak and exhaustion opened darker doors. By the mid-1990s, the icon who once embodied discipline was enslaved by cocaine. Reports claimed he consumed up to 10 grams a day, a lethal spiral masked by makeup and adrenaline. On Street Fighter sets, he vanished for days, his once flawless timing wrecked by dependency. Beneath the sculpted muscles lived a trembling man chasing numbness. "I thought I was invincible," he confessed later. "I was losing myself." The addiction stripped him of clarity, nearly of life. Contracts dried up. Studios whispered uninsurable. The hero who'd conquered time on screen couldn't control it off screen. Rehab followed, then relapse. Then the slow, painful crawl back to sobriety. His fight scenes were replaced by battles with his own reflection, proof that the fiercest wars are never cinematic. When fans saw the sparkle fade from his eyes, they didn't know that behind that gaze was a man pleading for rescue from himself. The long road to redemption. By the early 2000s, Jean-Claude had lost the empire he'd built, but he hadn't lost will. Through therapy and medication, he confronted bipolar disorder, acknowledging at last that strength wasn't only physical. His 2008 metafilm JCVD shocked critics, a raw, emotional confession wrapped in fiction. Playing himself, broke and haunted, he wept on camera, erasing the distance between the legend and the man. The world saw vulnerability where once there had been bravado. The performance earned standing ovations and revived his career not through muscles, but honesty. In interviews, he spoke softly, advocating mental health awareness, humility, and gratitude. The old swagger gave way to serenity. The fighter had finally learned surrender. Each new project, The Expendables 2, Jean-Claude Van Damme, carried humor and reflection. Redemption wasn't in the box office, but in peace of mind, in being present for his children, and in forgiving the boy who once thought perfection was the only way to be loved. The man behind the myth. Now in his 60s, Jean-Claude Van Damme lives quietly between Europe and Hong Kong, still training daily, still grateful to wake up breathing. The world remembers his splits and kicks. He remembers the silences between applause. Age has softened him, but not weakened him. He speaks often about compassion, the planet, animals, and the importance of inner balance, echoes of that childhood prayer in the Belgian church. The 5 failed marriages, the scandals, the addictions, all became lessons written on his body like tattoos of survival. When asked if he fears aging, he smiles. "I was never a hero. I was a student of life for fans." He remains the eternal fighter. For himself, simply a man who refused to stay broken. The muscles may fade, but the spirit that once split steel now bends toward wisdom. Proof that even legends can grow gentler without losing their power. The legacy of a fighter. Jean-Claude Van Damme's story isn't just Hollywood nostalgia. It's a parable of resilience. From bullied child to global icon, from addiction to awakening, he lived every rise and fall in public view. His legacy transcends martial arts. It lies in the courage to expose vulnerability after decades of invincibility. For those who grew up imitating his kicks, his true lesson arrived later. Strength means facing yourself unguarded. Today, the immortal muscles from Brussels stands not as a flawless hero, but as a reminder that greatness is never permanent, and redemption is always possible. Behind every split, every grin, and every scar is the boy who once looked into a mirror and promised never to surrender. The world may remember the fighter who conquered screens, but history will honor the man who conquered himself.